Part 27. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 261. Both of you are harming me. The emperor was really angry. He dug his nails into the ground, and when he exerted force, the nails were all broken into the flesh, and he didn't feel any pain for a moment. Tao Ran sneered. The emperor is wrong. You keep saying that everyone around you is harming you, don't you think that is your problem? What kind of person is hated by everyone around you? Your wives, concubines, your ministers, your elder, all of your flesh and blood relatives are bad, but you are the only one who is good. Could it be that you are wrong? The emperor was speechless, but he firmly believed that he was right. He firmly believes that he is the emperor, so he can't be wrong. The group of people in front of him all respect him, so they can only be wrong. It's them. Tao Ran, you are the emperor, we will not harm you. At best, we are just trying to protect ourselves. The adults glanced back at the emperor, right? The imperial concubine is right. At this moment, for the country, the court, and the people, and for the sake of maintaining stability, no matter what they do, they are protecting themselves. Who would really want to go to this point? It's all helpless, isn't it? The fight outside was almost decided. After all, the emperor did not expect a miracle. He watched helplessly as Prince Ning took hold of his guard chief and twisted him into a twist. The emperor collapsed on the ground, without any strength left in his body. Tao Ran also sat aside and ordered a pot of tea comfortably. She knew that nothing would happen to her next. What to do next, someone will figure it out. The hall door slowly closed again. However, before closing, the door opened again. The emperor looked up and saw the figure of the visitor. He was in a trance and thought he had seen it wrong. Kyokiu. Maybe he was hallucinating because of the pain? Ken. His eyes widened. Isn't this Kyokiu? Why is she here? Shouldn't she hide in another courtyard arranged by herself? No, next to Kyokiu is, the queen. The arrogant, domineering, and arrogant queen. At this moment, the last glimmer of hope in the emperor's heart was shattered. The queen is here. Take Kyokiu with you. This means that his secret guard also failed. No wonder, after waiting for a long time, there was no news from the secret guard. The emperor laughed. In vain, he had been thinking just now, thinking that maybe his secret guards could fall from the sky and save him. Ha ha ha. Halfway through his laughter, anger arose in his heart. Queen. The queen again. This time, it's the queen's fault again. And the imperial concubine, she is actually in the same group as the queen? At this moment, the emperor felt for the first time that he looked like a fool. He still remembered that 3 days ago, he witnessed the queen and the imperial concubine refusing to give in for a tribute and almost throwing the table. At that time, he was protecting Yutong, which made the queen blush with anger. At that time, the queen, could it be that she was blushing because she was suppressing her laughter? The emperor became more and more devastated. He was being manipulated and he was so smart. This was something he especially couldn't accept. The emperor began to regret again, his imperial concubine, they met almost every day, why didn't he notice it? How could she act so well in front of him? I thought that she was worrying about him half an hour ago, that she smiled brightly at her yesterday, her eyes as pure as crystal, that she could always feel her joy and attachment to him when she saw him. Isn't this true love? He always thought that his imperial concubine loved him as much as Kyokiu. Maybe I love it even more than Kyokiu. Is he blind? He lost everything because he was blind? This is even more unacceptable. The emperor cried. Scratching my head and bursting into tears. Tao Ran stared at the emperor. He was crying and laughing at the same time. He was probably going crazy because of the stimulation, right? Are you that capable of irritating people now? Quite a good ability. Yurukyu stepped forward in panic and hugged the emperor in front of everyone. This scene made all the veterans secretly shake their heads again. This emperor was really chosen completely wrong. The door was shut tightly. At this point, the queen had nothing to hide anymore. She directly told what the emperor had done today by sending secret guards, and she exaggerated it a bit, leaving all the veterans stunned again. How ridiculous! The emperor would really do anything for this enchanting concubine. As for the matters in the paddock, you should know better than I do. This time, the emperor is so generous that he wants to kill them all. I feel that it is time to make a decision about what will happen next. The queen looked at everyone. When I just arrived, Master Min was transporting an oil truck from the back hall. There were hundreds of trucks of oil, enough to burn the entire palace and make the blood flow like a river. So Igong feels that you don't have to take chances anymore. The queen was afraid that the old ministers would be confused. In order to comply with the late emperor's entrustment, she still refused to depose the emperor and showed mercy. She couldn't help but emphasize. But in fact, the veterans were really desperate. The emperor wanted to kill them quickly and without any hesitation. The cruelty of his attacks was shocking. When the fire failed, he took a dagger and struck Prince Hung. Such behavior is worse than a beast. Is this the emperor? Killing people and setting fires without any remorse. Worse than local ruffians. They had just asked the imperial concubine a few questions, and then they realized that the emperor actually had plans for the general's mansion. If this succeeds, wouldn't all the mainstays of this dynasty be wiped out? They were heartbroken and despairing, not only because of the emperor's actions, but also because the emperor was not qualified for the position. So, they can't tolerate it this time. Otherwise, I won't have such luck next time. The consequences could be disastrous. Don't worry, Queen, I will discuss it carefully with you. Several old men planned to go to the inner hall, but the emperor didn't know why he was not afraid of pain now, so he rushed forward and hugged Prince Hung's thigh. Uncle Emperor, I was wrong. Uncle Emperor, give me another chance. I will be obedient. I will obey whatever you ask me to do. Prince Hung smiled bitterly. When did I ask the emperor to be obedient? You are overthinking it. An old minister shook his head. Your Majesty, I am getting older and I am about to retire. The reason why I have not retreated is because I have been waiting for the emperor to mature, not to make the emperor obedient. Another minister sighed. Yes, the emperor is overestimating us with malicious intent. As the emperor said, I should have gone back to entertain my grandson long ago. Since I failed to fulfill the late emperor's instructions, I naturally have no shame in staying in the court anymore. I will take this opportunity to retreat together with the emperor. A few people just entered the inner hall. The emperor was so stupid that he retreated together? He is going to be abdicated. Gone. Nothing is left. Yurukyu went to hug him, but he pushed her away. Queen, I was wrong. The emperor suddenly turned to the queen. I have been a demon these years, and I won't do it anymore. I will love you very much from now on. Let's start over. We will be a model emperor and empress. I beg you, give me a chance, and for the sake of past friendship, help me. Beg. Snap. The emperor never expected that the queen would dare to slap him in the mouth. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 262. The queen has wanted to beat the emperor for many years. The slap in the face at this moment is very clear. You are full of lies and shameless. With your words and deeds like this, are you worthy of being an emperor? Will she believe him? Do you believe he will change his ways? With no one around, the resentment that the queen had been holding back for many years was finally vented. She kicked the emperor several times. Unexpectedly, the emperor did not resist at all. If this can make Union calm down, just beat me and scold me, Union. I am really willing to start over with you. Union, give me a chance. This was the first time the emperor called the queen by her name. The queen almost laughed angrily. The emperor, for the sake of the throne, gave up even the last bit of self-respect. Okay. The queen grabbed the emperor's dagger that Taoran knocked off and threw it in front of the emperor. Go, kill Yerukiu, and I will consider giving you a chance. The emperor was stunned and glanced at his Kyokiu. Wu Lang. Yerukiu was also dumbfounded. What's that look on her man's face? Why the hesitation? Is he really thinking? He was actually tempted. Wu Lang, I am your Kyokiu, what are you thinking about? Kyokiu, I. The emperor picked up the dagger, looked at his sweetheart, then at the queen, and fell into pain. Wu Lang, Yerukiu was scared. Wu Lang, don't be deceived. I'm pregnant. If you kill your own child, those old ministers will look down on you even more. Don't be fooled. By then, in this world, you are really alone. How can you live alone? Barabara. However, the emperor slowly stood up while supporting the table, then gradually raised his hand and pointed the blade at Yerukiu. I'm sorry. He thrust out. Yerukiu was frightened, holding her head and screaming. Unexpectedly, the emperor turned the tip of his sword and aimed it directly at the queen. He pounced directly on the queen who was 5 steps away. As long as he catches the queen and threatens the queen, maybe everything will turn around. But just like when he tried to catch Prince Hong before, he fell heavily to the ground. Another click, he failed. Raising his head, he saw his imperial concubine smiling. Your Majesty, you are really seeking death when you treat this concubine as a dead person. Bitch. However, his mouth was slapped by the queen again. Queen, tell me, were you the one who tampered with my prince that day? How come? If you don't tell me, I will kill you now. The queen stepped on the emperor and picked up the dagger on the ground. Queen, how dare you? See if I dare. This dagger is yours. If I tell you, you and Yerukiu committed suicide, do you think anyone will question me? The emperor was restrained by the queen's 2 confidants, and the queen put the dagger on the emperor's face. The cold touch made the emperor tremble. The queen really stabbed her, and blood oozed out from the emperor's neck. The emperor cried and begged, but he didn't make the queen's eyes warm at all. Unable to hold on any longer, he roared. Yes. I killed him, he admitted. I'm afraid that after you have a son, you will become more aggressive, your family will become more powerful, and it will be more difficult to eradicate you. Once I have the eldest son of the emperor, or the eldest son of the legitimate son, he will definitely be the prince. Another puppet of your family. I have always been. I have no rights. Once I have this prince, I will have no hope. I don't need such a son. Brute. The queen threw the dagger and aimed it at the emperor's chest. She figured it out. Finally. This matter has been hanging in her mind for many years. She must find out and give an explanation to the dead child. Murder. This man is not worthy of being a human being. He must be punished. The queen sat aside. In short, her presence would never make things easier for the emperor. Taoran poured her a cup of hot tea. Thank you for your hard work. Let's take a rest. Let's watch a show. As soon as these words came out, the emperor's eyes pierced again. At this moment, he was extremely embarrassed. He wanted to stand up, but after the fall just now, his knees were more sore than before. He wanted to borrow some strength, but Yerukiu didn't have the strength. Yerukiu dragged him twice, but he failed to stand up, and instead they fell into a ball. Yerukiu cried again. Both she and the emperor had bruises on their arms, and when she smelled the faint blood, she felt nauseated and vomited. The emperor was caught off guard and became stained with filth. At that moment, a feeling of disgust came over him, and he almost subconsciously pushed his pregnant true love away with fear. Wu Lang. Yerukia burst into tears. Her Goro despises her. She was carrying a child for him, but he didn't feel sorry for her and thought she was dirty. When she was sad, she vomited even more. The emperor moved himself away, then became anxious. He was a dignified emperor, sitting on the ground, dirty and embarrassed, and he just wanted to find a hole in the ground to burrow into. While the woman next to him is still crying, he is not reaching out to hug her, nor is he pushing her. When he looked up, sure enough, everyone from Queen Yutong to several palace maids were laughing at him. The emperor hugged his head directly. He wanted to die. If life is like this in the future, he might as well choose to die. What are you looking at? If you look again, I'll dig out your eyeballs, Tao Ran said and punched out a peanut. The emperor subconsciously avoided it, and the peanut hit him on the forehead. He was so frightened that he no longer dared to raise his head and curled up into a ball. The queen raised her glass and touched it with Tao Ran. The two of them regarded the emperor and Yerukia who were kneeling in the palace as a show. The two of them thought that there might be no need to kill the emperor and Yerukia, as that would be too advantageous for them, and it might be more interesting to keep them. Since it is true love, it can naturally withstand all tests. Since we are dealing with miserable couples, instead of beating them up, why not help them achieve their goals? Half an hour later, Prince Hung and others came out and announced the results of their discussion. Shortly after the emperor entered the paddock, there was no news. Later, the Royal Forest Army and the Beijing Guards joined the search, but they could not find the emperor. Finally, in the room of the emperor's palace, an abdication edict and an imperial edict to dismiss the personal guards were found. At the same time, reports came from Beijing that concubine Qiu of Ganlu Temple was nowhere to be seen. Someone saw the emperor taking concubine Qiu away by boat. The next day, on a lake on the outskirts of Beijing, a boat was found capsized on the river. It was confirmed that it was the boat the emperor took when he left. This is probably the best rhetoric and decision to minimize losses. If the royal family wants to save face, it must not be said that the emperor, in order to seize power, stirred up trouble in the paddock, killed people and set fires, and almost ended up in a river of blood. The emperor's abdication was inevitable, so he had to find an excuse that would not harm his reputation and elegance. The affair between him and the demon concubine had caused a lot of turmoil before, and his reputation was already bad. Now that the two of them have double stay and two returns as the ending, they may be able to win some sympathy from the crazy man and the resentful woman. In this way, it can just cover up the large number of officers and soldiers looking for someone in Ganlu Temple today. In addition, the demon concubine is pregnant and the emperor is affectionate. These events are all connected. Recently, due to all the public opinions about the demon concubine, I can stop it completely. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 263. I wonder what the queen and the imperial concubine think of this method. A group of veterans asked the queen and Yutong for their opinions after giving the results of the discussion. At this time, as the heroes of today, the queen and Yutong, how dare they skip? The queen and Tao Ran looked at each other. I have no objection. Me too. Tao Ran knew that to those old ministers, dragging the emperor down would be considered treacherous, not to mention that they had been entrusted by the late emperor, so they would never let the emperor die. However, is life necessarily better? Not necessarily. The emperor even gave up his self-esteem for the sake of the throne, which shows how obsessed he is with power. The days to come will be difficult. Of course, they won't let him really have nothing, at least he will have a lover. They will not kill Yerukiu because she is pregnant. Therefore, they will definitely become adults and let him be accompanied by true love for the rest of his life. True love, haha, how wonderful. Since it is true love, we can share power and wealth, and naturally we can also share hardships. I just don't know if true love can really last forever. However, before Prince Hung finished speaking, Yerukiu hugged the emperor. What abdication? What retreat? How could the emperor abdicate? The emperor will not retreat. You rebelled, you are treasonous. And the emperor pushed her away again. I will not abdicate. I can kill the demon concubine, and I can agree to anything. Give me a chance. Queen, uncle, I will kill Yerukiu, okay. The emperor understood the horror of that rhetoric. Say what? That he took Yerukiu to live in seclusion and the boat capsized? Doesn't that mean he is dead? From then on, he is a dead person. Regardless of whether he is alive or not, his identity is gone. He is gone. Even if he survives, he has no identity. He is not an emperor, not even a member of the royal family, he is nobody. What's the difference between that and the living dead? The emperor regretted it. But it was too late. The emperor and Yerukiu were both gagged and taken directly to the side hall. Subsequently, the selection of the new emperor became the top priority that needed to be discussed. There are not many suitable candidates. The emperor had no heirs and could only choose from his brothers. The late emperor did have two young princes. However, all the adults thought about it for a long time, but no one said that. It will take more than 10 years for the two young princes to reach adulthood, which is too long. And after this time, the veterans were almost exhausted mentally and physically, and they wanted to quit. How about holding on for another 10 years? No one dares to think about it. And in the past 10 years, what if, like the current emperor, the new emperor also became dissatisfied because he had no power? When a young emperor takes power, there must be many possible consequences. I think Prince Ning can be considered. They didn't dare to mention it rashly, so Taoran spoke up. She and Prince Ning have reached an agreement, she will help him take the last step, and he will ensure that she and her family are safe in the future. The veterans took a deep breath, but did not refuse, because Prince Ning was indeed among their candidates. Prince Ning was bold and careful this time. He was the first to discover that the emperor was frequently mobilizing his own soldiers. 3 days ago, he secretly told my father about this matter and asked my father in the imperial army to pay more attention to the emperor secretly, so that I could move faster. I discovered the emperor's plan and contacted the Queen. Taoran had already prepared a story for Prince Ning. Thanks to Prince Ning for saving the day today. Therefore, Prince Ning's contribution this time is not small. If I am the first in credit, Prince Ning will be the second. What do you think? Taoran almost made it clear directly. Prince Ning, like her, was also the savior of everyone present. I also think Prince Ning is good, the Queen agreed. She and Taoran had reached a consensus 2 days ago. Prince Ning's action today was crucial, and he helped her get revenge, so she gave him this favor. Of course she had already considered it. Prince Ning's foundation in Beijing was shallow and he just needed a backer like the Chen family. They can help each other. The old ministers informed King Ning and went to the inner hall to talk. An hour later, Prince Ning asked all the veterans and Prince Hung to nod. Regardless of today's achievements, King Ning is knowledgeable and courageous, understands the sufferings of the people, knows how to consider the people, has his own opinions, and his style is not extreme. Unlike the current emperor, he is pragmatic, practical, thoughtful, decisive in action, and can stand alone. In terms of style, it is even simpler. There was only one princess and one concubine, and she gave birth to 2 sons and a daughter. The wives and concubines live in peace, and the children grow up safely. In the royal family, the person who can make the wives, concubines, and heirs in the backyard live in harmony must not be mediocre and incompetent. Besides him, who else in the royal family is more suitable at this moment? The candidate was decided just like that. After solving this problem, Taoran took the initiative to knock on the door of the inner hall. "If you want to judge merit and reward, should I be at the front?" she asked shamelessly. Everyone was stunned. "If the imperial concubine has any requests, just ask for them." "I don't want to be a concubine." Everyone. "I want to be the queen mother, but I only want fame and not get involved in politics." After a while, everyone looked at Prince Ning. After all, he is the new emperor and it is not their turn to decide. "Prince Ning, I think there is nothing wrong with this." That night, when he talked with Yutong Uexia, Yutong spoke frankly to him. Said she wanted to be the queen, but not the queen. He understood it then. Everyone looked at the queen again. If someone wants to take the position of queen mother, the original owner must be willing. "Queen, it's so long in the palace that it's really interesting to have my sister by my side." "I don't have any objections either. It's not like there were two queen mothers once. She doesn't mind, so others don't need to say anything, right?" Others really couldn't say anything. They all owed their lives to Yutong, and now they only wanted a higher position. The new emperor and the new queen mother didn't mind, so what were they insisting on? In this way, the matter was settled particularly smoothly. 3 days after the emperor's funeral ceremony, the new emperor ascended the throne, and Taoran and the empress became the queen mother together. Her explanation for this promotion is, the emperor admires General Yu and hopes to see more heroes like the Yu family who protect their homeland and the country. He also hopes that more people of insight can serve the motherland, regardless of whether they are civil servants or military officers. They will all be treated fairly and equally. I hope they can all shine in their respective positions, so that their country will be peaceful and the people will be safe. It was a big statement, and the Yu family had indeed been heroes for generations. None of the senior officials or the royal family had any objections, so naturally no one else raised any questions. Just like that, Taoran moved into Shaokong Palace. That day, the new emperor came to talk to her for a quarter of an hour. The emperor was respectful, grateful, polite, and had a sense of propriety. He even said that he would come to pay his respects every other day in the future. The AI family are straightforward people. If you can avoid the etiquette, just come over. Your Majesty, just come back when you have time, it's too troublesome. The new emperor smiled, then I will come here every 5 days. 7 days. Yes. In the following days, Taoran truly lived a life of salted fish. Eating, sleeping, practicing, and drinking tea and raising flowers with another queen mother sister and chatting. So far, only a little more than half a year has passed since Taoran's deadline. She still has plenty of time. But she knew that it was almost time for her to leave. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 264. That day, the emperor in the paddock made his last effort. But the Prince Hung he was looking for didn't come, and the queen came. The queen led people to inject several injections into his knees, and then, even the pain in his knees disappeared. "You take away my child's life, and I will let you taste the slow loss of vitality," the queen said hatefully. The emperor was terrified, but he didn't know what the queen had done to his legs. Not long after that, the emperor disappeared in the paddock. He and Yerukia were stuffed into the carriage with their heads covered. The car drove for a long time. When he saw the light again, he didn't know where he was. Deep in the mountains, there is a wasteland with only one wooden house. Only then did they realize that the so-called retreat of those old men was not just a casual remark. The wooden house was empty, with a table, a bed, a stove, a vat of rice noodles, a bag of crop seeds, some tools and supplies, and a few sets of coarse cloths, and nothing else. No slaves. If they want to survive, they can only rely on their hands. A nun came to teach them how to use the stove and how to grow vegetables, but the emperor choked her. Don't embarrass me. As I said above, you have never been unrealistic. You talk about benevolence and morality, but you never know the real sufferings of the people. You have to experience it for yourself to realize how wrong you are. After that, the nanny raised her leg and hit her towards the emperor's knees. The emperor's legs instantly softened and he knelt down. Only then did he realize that his knees were out of control at all. He was scared. Queen, the queen must have drugged his knees. The nanny was about to leave, but Yerukia grabbed her and refused to let go. I am a pregnant woman, how can I live here? Don't you have hands? We people don't just lie down on the bed and do nothing when we are pregnant. Then what will I eat? I've given you rice and flour. There are wild vegetables all over the mountains and plains. If you want to eat meat, you can catch animals. If you want to eat fish, you can go fishing. It's up to you. I can't stay here any longer. Please, take us away. It's a pity that no matter how they coerced and lured her, Grandma still left. The two of them sat on the ground in silence for a long time, still unable to accept it. Goro, I can't do it. I can't do it either. The emperor lowered his head, but I don't want to die either. Yerukia cried. She didn't want to die, she was still afraid of death. When she cried, the emperor became even more annoyed and slapped her away. Yerukia didn't expect that the emperor would hit her, and she collapsed instantly. If you hit me, you are no longer my Wulang. No, it's not right. You are no longer that Kyokyu. The emperor had no intention of coaxing her, but instead shouted, cry, 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 what else can you do besides cry? If it weren't for you, how could I have fallen into this situation? If you hadn't offended the queen and the imperial concubine that day, nothing today will happen. You can either light a fire and cook, or stay away from me. I won't do it, Yerukia yelled. Then I will do it, the emperor slapped him away again. Go if you don't want to starve to death. The two began to blame each other and torture each other. After finally holding on for 2 days in the anxiety, the emperor's legs became worse and worse. On the first day he came, he could still run 2 steps, but in the past 2 days, it has been difficult for him to even walk. The leg on which the queen had acupuncture was completely unable to use any strength. Is this going to be scrapped? But this is a place where everyone should not be treated every day. Who can help them? 2 days later, the firecrackers and fireworks went off for another day. The new emperor has ascended the throne. All day long, the emperor neither ate nor drank. After being slapped twice more, Yerukia, who was huddled in the corner, suddenly realized that the emperor was no longer the emperor. He had nothing left, but she and her family were still there. The family must have thought she was dead, but as long as she appeared in front of them, they would not ignore her. Yerukia decided that she wanted to escape. Deep in this mountain, I wonder how long it will take to run out. Dry food is a must. It took her 2 days to hide 3 steamed buns. In the middle of the night, Yerukia quietly got up, took the bundle she had packed, and took a piece of cloth from under the stove. This is her farewell letter, written in grass juice. Just think she's sorry for Goro. She walked lightly and placed the letter on the emperor's pillow. However, as soon as she turned around, her wrist was tightly held. You also treat me as a dead person? Bitch, Yerukia was dragged away by the emperor. He knew this woman very well. She started acting weird 2 days ago. There was pity in her tearful eyes, and he understood. She took the initiative to do a lot of work yesterday, which was so abnormal. He also saw her hiding steamed buns. But he didn't speak, so she treated him as a living dead. The emperor looked at the piece of cloth with writing on it under the moonlight and laughed. The last person around him also betrayed him. No, it's not a betrayal. I'm going to seek refuge with the Ye family. As long as we find the Ye family, they can help us. The emperor will be saved. You let me go, and I will find someone. Do you think I'm a fool? The Ye family may save Yerukyu, but they will definitely not help him. Unless they are not afraid of offending the new emperor, are not afraid of being punished, and want the whole family to die together. I will not let you leave. Kyukyu, my favorite person. You have my child in your belly. Our family of 3 should be together forever. The emperor had a scary smile on his face and strong hatred in his eyes. Can you not hate it? She kept him here knowing that his legs were getting worse day by day. Didn't she know that this might kill him? But she still had to leave. This woman doesn't care about his life or death. Or with his child. Why, does she still want to recognize his child as a new father? Sure enough, he had always been wrong about his life. He could only share wealth, but he was unwilling to share hardships with him. Haha, in order to live and prevent her from succeeding, he couldn't let her go. From that night on, Yerukyu had an extra rein on her wrist. The emperor linked them together. In this way, he won't be afraid of her escaping, and let them advance and retreat together forever. One day, half a month later, the 2 queen mothers stood in the dense forest on the top of a mountain not far away, watching through clairvoyance the deposed emperor and Yerukyu scolding and fighting each other. The deposed emperor looked for trouble and slapped Yerukyu in the face. Yerukyu raised her leg and hit him on the knee. The 2 tortured each other without any affection at all. In fact, this is not a deep mountain forest, it is an abandoned royal residence that has not been used for many years. The new emperor allocated this place for the emperor to live in seclusion. If they climb out of the mountain, they can at least live in another courtyard without having to suffer so much, and there will still be a few old slaves to take care of them. It's a pity that with the condition of those 2 people, they may have to stay in that mountain valley for the rest of their lives. Not long after Chaoran returned to Shaokong Palace, the feeling of detachment came as promised. She thought she had accomplished this mission well. After Yutong comes back, she can continue to be the most leisurely Queen Mother. She and Queen Mother Chen had long since put their grudges aside with a smile, and they were both living happily. The emperor now respects the Yu family, and even if there is no agreement between them, he still trusts the Yu family who once resisted the enemy like him. The deposed emperor and Yerukyu were also punished. From now on, their lives would be worse than death. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 265. Chaoran didn't understand why this feeling of weightlessness lasted for such a long time. Moreover, she could not see Yutong in the void or say a few words to Yutong. Even in this situation, not even the voice of the old witch appeared. After being dazed more severely than any time before, she woke up to the sound of a string of electronic sounds in her ears. She is not at the hotel. The surroundings were vast, as if covered with thick fog, and she stood alone. The exam is about to begin. Candidates, please get ready. Take an exam? What test? An electronic screen suddenly appeared in front of me. There are 10 questions in this exam. Points system. Candidates are asked to choose the difficulty of the questions according to their own abilities. Correct answers will earn points corresponding to the question type, and incorrect answers will deduct points. After 10 questions, the person with the highest score can redeem the reward. Candidates are asked to try their best to achieve high scores. Chaoran was a little confused. Is this a new mission? No transition? Didn't you return to your own body? Go directly to a new mission? Take the exam as soon as you come up? Why take the exam? Taking the exam in such a void? The one with the highest score? So she wasn't the only one taking the exam, but there were others. She looked around and saw no one else. She gritted her teeth, and she had no memory or plot. I don't know the environment, I don't know the goals, I don't know the era, and I don't have any preparations. Recalling the cold snort the woman left after she threatened her in the last mission, Taoran felt that the woman was seeking revenge. That woman is so vindictive. The exam begins. The electronic screen has lit up. Taoran could only bite the bullet and look. 5 question types appeared on the screen, namely kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, and college and above, and the corresponding points were 10, 30, 100, 300 and 500 respectively. At this moment, her current score is displayed in the upper right corner of the screen, which is 100. Based on the principle of safety, she clicked on the junior high school question worth 100 points. In Chen Yi's world, she had just experienced her junior high school career, so it seemed that she should be a little more secure. After clicking, the 100-point junior high school question started scrolling. But it's not a math problem. Ken. Luck is so good. In the end, when the scroll bar was full of history questions, it just kept moving up and down, and slowly stopped in front of the math question in the middle. Xiaoming's original phone number was 6 digits, but it was upgraded twice. The first time was to add the number 8 between the first number and the second number. The second time to upgrade was to add the number 2 before the first number. Become a new 8-digit phone number. At this time, Xiaoming discovered that the current 8-digit number was exactly 81 times the 6-digit number before the upgrade. So what was Xiaoming's original number? How could she know? Is this classmate Xiaoming so free? Is it because the game is not fun or the TV is not good to watch, and you have nothing to do but count phone numbers? Taoran screwed up his teeth. She had helped Chen Yi do questions before, but there were none of this type and difficulty. What's the most important thing? Surprisingly, this is not a multiple-choice question, but a fill-in-the-blank question. A 5-minute countdown also appeared on the display. Haha, 5 minutes? Give her 5 days or 5 weeks and she may not be able to figure out what to do. Not surprisingly, after 5 minutes, the question failed. The electronic screen is very considerate, with answers and solution ideas appearing below. Sorry, I can't understand it. Taoran watched her score change from 100 to 0. As expected, this question deducted 100 points from her. Although she didn't know what role these scores played in the end, she still felt distressed. Junior high school was obviously too difficult, so she decided to be safer next and choose elementary school questions. Here comes the question: find the pattern between 1, 3, 7, and 8. The limited time is 10 seconds. Before Taoran could think deeply, the time had come. The answer is all the first sounds. What a trap! Her score is now -30. Actually, it doesn't seem difficult. I just think too much. Taoran once again chose elementary school questions. Question: the school held an exam and tested 4 subjects: Chinese, mathematics, foreign language, and science. Xiaoming found that in each subject exam, he ranked 10th in the class, but Xiaoming's total score in the 4 subjects was ranked 10th in the class. Ranked first, then there are at least people in this class. Time, 3 minutes. For a moment, she didn't even know where to start. Are you sure this is an elementary school question? No superclass? She will never dare to look down on primary school students again. The current score is -60. So, she wants to choose kindergarten questions. No, self-esteem won't allow it. Taoran simply chose high school questions. This time, here comes a physics question. No, she gave up immediately. After 4 questions, her score became negative 360. She finally understood that if the exam was not deliberately made difficult by the woman, then the exam itself was a trap and would not allow her to get high scores at all. She won't even be allowed to get points. She firmly believes that it is not her fault that she cannot solve these problems. After doing some mental preparation, Taoran finally answered the kindergarten question type. Why did she have to answer every question correctly? Here comes the question: under what circumstances 5 is greater than 0, 0 is greater than 2, and 2 is greater than 5? Time limit, 10 seconds. What? She was stunned for a moment, and the time was up. Answer: play rock paper scissors. After answering 5 questions, they were all wrong, and I lost 370. Unwilling to let her choose another elementary school question. Q. What's the fastest way to turn ice into water? Answer: heating. Display error. The correct answer is to remove 2 points. Points, minus 400. Unbearable. There are too many lice and it doesn't itch. This time, Taoran directly chose the most difficult question, worth 500 points. If you get the answer right, you will just turn over. However, her luck was still bad, and what appeared was a physics question that she couldn't understand at all. Won't. Not surprisingly, she was deducted 500 points. 7 questions, all wrong, a full 1,000 points deducted, really? She randomly selected 3 more questions and failed on all of them. She still firmly believes that it is her bad luck, not her ability. In the end, she completed the exam with a bare minus 1,200 points. A line of words appears on the display: exchange points. Yes or no? Taoran chose yes. Then, a line of words larger than the palm of your hand appeared: the score is too low, the mall will be suspended, please continue to work hard. Seeing a question mark in the upper right corner, she clicked it and it showed that the mall could not be opened until the score was 100 points greater than the original score. There was a friendly reminder in the lower right corner. Taoran also clicked it. There was a line of red text: the score is too low. It is recommended to rework it. Why are you still swearing? Taoran slapped the monitor. As a result, she came up empty. The fingers penetrated. The feeling of weightlessness came again. Is that all? Just took a test? Immediately, she realized something was wrong. It's not so much a feeling of weightlessness as it is a feeling of falling. The electronic voice in my ears repeatedly emphasized, the survival game begins now. The survival game begins now. The survival game begins now. Please try to survive 30 days. Please work hard to gain points. Happy Dragon Boat Festival. Love you. A new story begins. The plot needs to be sorted out, so I'll post the second update at night if there's time. If not, I'll just post the first update today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 266. Survival game? Taoran was stunned. Is it the kind of survival game she thinks of, where a bunch of people fight and try to survive to the end? An electronic voice still sounded in my ears: code name is being generated. Code name is being generated. Codename has been generated. Your codename is 44. Taoran. What a number. She firmly believes that 44 is 8, and 44 is 16, which is an auspicious number. Well, 44 as you wish. Very good. As soon as she successfully brainwashed herself, she realized that she was no longer in the void. The environment at the moment is a bit scary. There was lightning and thunder, dark clouds were rolling, strong winds were blowing, and huge raindrops were falling from the sky, which even hurt my face. Still, rough waves. Before Chaoran could see clearly, he made a plop and fell into the sea. The salty sea water was pouring into her throat, and she couldn't care about anything else. She had no other choice but to paddle out of the water quickly. Fortunately, the water is not too cold and can be tolerated. After looking around, she saw that there were many people on the sea, struggling in the water just like her. These people are probably all participants in this survival game. To be more precise, it should be a competitor. Unable to control them, Chaoran saw many planks floating on the sea, and everyone was rushing to swim to them. Oh, sure enough, the fight has already begun. Some men had already started fighting over a nearby wooden board. Chaoran took a fancy to an unoccupied board about 20 meters away to her left. It was rectangular and she could climb up it. That's it. She took a deep breath and plunged into the water. Thanks to those years of acting in action scenes, her swimming and diving skills are pretty good. 30 seconds later, she had clasped her hands on the board. But just as she was about to turn over, a pair of hands grabbed her legs. I've taken a liking to this boss. The man holding Chaoran back was a man with a long scar on his right face, extending from his brow to his chin. He looked fierce and had the number 07 hanging on his chest. Get away, he grabbed Chaoran's left leg with both hands and pulled hard. But he didn't expect that not only was Chaoran not dragged off the board by him, but he was also good at legs and feet. The moment he exerted his strength, she actually swept her right leg directly, and her two calves formed a scissors shape, clamping down on his hands. When he couldn't move, Chaoran used his right leg and kicked the man hard in the face. The man was caught off guard and received the blow directly. He leaned back and was blocked by the sea water. 3 seconds later, he surfaced. After wiping away the nosebleed, he bared his teeth and shook his face, and looked at Chaoran again with a ferocious expression. At this time, Chaoran had climbed onto the board, knelt on one knee, and stared at the man. If you dare to come up and grab me again, I will break your neck, she said every word, gritting her teeth. Chaoran had already seen clearly the messy situation on the sea. She was frightened. Everyone fell into the sea, but the number of wooden planks scattered on the sea surface was obviously less than the number of people. It was clear that they were meant to fight with each other. She just looked at the sea not far away. After someone fell into the water, he could not float again. In this game, it is obviously difficult to avoid killing. This would have been impossible in the era of rule of law in which she lived and in any previous world. This is bound to be a brutal mission. Although she didn't want to take action, she didn't want to die even more. She didn't know if she could overcome her psychological barrier if she really wanted to kill someone. She was a little panicked. But she must not show it. So, at this moment, she was full of dominance, her eyes were sharp, and her whole body was as tense as a beast that might attack at any time. The man was frightened by this momentum. After staring at Chaoran for a second, he turned to the other side and continued to fight for the board with others. Chaoran was secretly relieved. Only then did she begin to observe the environment carefully. There were men and women among the people around. The older ones were about 60 years old, and the younger ones were probably only 8 to 10 years old. I am speechless. The elderly and children also come to the survival game. Is it voluntary or forced? What kind of bad taste is this, initiator? They are all real people, and who organized such a game? What is the purpose? There is sea on all sides, except for a small island not far away. If you want to survive, there is only one clear way: go to the island. The wind and waves calmed down slightly. Chaoran found a wooden stick on the water and started paddling to the shore. What makes Chaoran depressed is that she still doesn't have any memories or plot. She summoned it several times in her mind, but there was no response. But this time, She didn't even have the means to threaten. The heavy rain overhead gradually subsided, and the sky was no longer pitch black, but began to light up. When Chao Ran glanced at the sea, he was startled. She couldn't help but take a second look. The face of her reflected on the water is her own. It was her Daoran face. She couldn't help but rub her face, and then took a wooden stick to the water surface and pulled it. She once again confirmed that she had read it correctly. She looked at her body again. Wasn't it her? There will never be anyone who doesn't recognize me. She was confused again. Her body should be in the hotel. So now, is she dreaming? She pulled off the code number 44 attached to her left breast and found that she couldn't get it off at all. Her thoughts could not continue. Because suddenly there was a noise. Not only because of the various exclamations, pleas for help and cries from people on the water, but also because of the overhead. A large black cloud was approaching, but upon closer inspection, it was clear that they were a group of large black birds with sharp beaks and claws, and huge wings that were swooping down. Each of them is almost half a person tall, and when their wings are spread out, they feel almost 2 meters tall. The birds were very ferocious, and everyone watched helplessly. They tore off the arms of a man who was holding his wound and flopping in the water because he failed to snatch the board. Finally, they picked the man up from the water. Here at Chao Ran, a big bird with blind eyes rushed towards him. Although this body is not that of Yutong and has good martial arts skills, Chao Ran has already mastered the skills of the previous world. Therefore, although the bird came with great force, Chao Ran quickly mobilized all his strength and used the wooden stick in his hand as a sword. He directly performed a set of moves, and each blow was aimed at the big bird's eyes and abdomen. In less than 2 rounds, Big Bird couldn't resist, and Chao Ran was slapped with a board and knocked unconscious on the water. It should be said that these evil things are still afraid of the weak. Seeing Chao Ran's strong fighting ability, after that, no one dared to attack again. Chao Ran simply stood upright on the wooden board, swinging the wooden stick like that, carefully guarding his surroundings. Probably because of her domineering attitude, unlike most of the people around her, she was not easy to mess with. For a while, everyone, whether they were people or birds, kept a distance from her. Chao Ran raised his chin. Most. Except. About 3 meters behind her, there was a little boy who was neither too far nor too close, keeping this distance and following her. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 267. Chao Ran stared at the little boy. The boy showed a fake smile that was uglier than crying. One of his front teeth was missing, his face was twitching violently, and his eyes were full of fear, but also a little bit pleading. Chao Ran turned his head back expressionlessly. This kid has been following her like this for a while. Obviously he wanted to use her strength to avoid some trouble. Forget it, as long as he didn't hinder her, there was no need for her to be too cruel to the child, just let him take advantage. But Chao Ran glanced back at the child again, then glanced at the people around him, and then became depressed. The child was not floating on the sea like she was relying on a wooden board, but was lying on a backpack. There were airbags on both sides of the backpack, so it could hold a person after inflating it, and then slowly brought him to the shore. Most of the guys on the sea who didn't grab the planks relied on this kind of backpack to stay afloat. Chao Ran looked at himself. Where was she? Not only was there no bag, to be precise, there was nothing. And there should be other supplies in those people's bulging bags, right? Go to a desert island to survive with nothing? First of all, what should I do with food and drink? Chao Ran was a little anxious. Now the wind changed direction, the dark clouds cleared from the sky, and it became completely bright. There was just a favorable wind, so Chao Ran sat down and looked at the people around him. She once again saw the scarred man who was fighting for the board with her. He obviously discovered the benefits of a backpack just like she did. So at this moment, he, a grown man, was grabbing a backpack from another girl. The girl was so anxious that she was screaming. He cried loudly and even received a slap from him. Tao Ran cursed that piece of trash in his heart. There were so many people on the sea, why did he only pick women? Despite the scolding, Tao Ran didn't intend to meddle in other people's business. The girl's bag was snatched away, and she was sobbing and flopping in the water. She didn't look like she could swim. Tao Ran thought about whether to help throw a wooden board over, but the next second, her eyes widened. In the girl's hand, a life jacket suddenly appeared out of thin air. Tao Ran was sure that he had read it correctly. So, this is certainly not magic. The source of life jackets can only be redeemed from the so-called points and malls. So depressed. So, the backpack should also be exchanged, right? No wonder everyone's backpacks almost all have the same style. Thinking of his loss of 1,200 points and the mall he couldn't open, Tao Ran's heart suddenly felt a little hurt. Frustration arises and self-esteem is bruised. Just as she was about to turn her eyes away, she saw another handsome young man rowing past the girl on the board, and pulled the girl onto his wide board. The girl burst into tears of gratitude, while the young man had a gentle look on his face and an affectionate look on his face. Tao Ran he, interesting. A hero saves a beauty? Love at first sight? Meet by chance? The road is rough? All ba 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 ba. Human heart. It is truly the most interesting thing in the world. Turning around, he looked at the man with the scar who had snatched the bag. He was lying on the girl's bag and was opening it. After taking a look, the man with the scar bared his teeth and smiled. He was obviously very interested in the contents of the bag. Satisfied, Tao Ran landed safely. Then she was stimulated again. She saw that the little kid following her was wearing a quick-drying suit, and he also took out a jacket from his bag. Unlike her, it was just the most ordinary sports suit. Now the wind blew, making her shiver with cold. Not only that, if you look around, you can see that several of the people coming ashore have the kind of jackets worn by professional adventurers and campers. There is also the most over-the-top glasses man, fully equipped, with a sun hat on his head, hiking boots on his feet, professional leather gloves on his hands, a telescope around his neck, a Swiss Army knife tied to his leg, a compass in one hand, and a route in the other. Trekking poles. Even his hiking bag was much larger than the others, and it obviously contained a lot of supplies. Too ostentatious. Idiot. Tao Ran looked away. He didn't understand the principle of not exposing wealth. Even someone with a bottom line like her is trying hard to restrain herself from stealing his thoughts, let alone other people. Such a show, sooner or later someone will strip her naked and rob her. Tao Ran cursed, but his heart suddenly hurt. She is worse than that idiot. Idiots and children can get points to exchange for equipment, but she has nothing. Looking at the past, although there were people as humble as her, there were really not many. Why? Getting it for free is not necessarily bad. The wooden stick she had just used for paddling was easy to use, but it looked ugly with empty hands. She couldn't bear to throw away the wooden stick, so she kept it as an adventure stick. Tao Ran walked towards the island. She was very tired, but she didn't dare to rest on the shore. It's not that she's afraid of being robbed, she has nothing to be robbed of. Mainly because I'm afraid of trouble. She planned to find a secluded place to relax. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do or where I'm going, so I might as well recharge my batteries first. Thanks to the things I learned in the last world, I'm afraid it will be of great use this time. After walking a few steps, a forest appeared in front of him. A little too dense. Towering trees block out the sky and the sun, and most of the various vegetation are nameless, too abundant. Tao Ran has never walked through the dense forest, and she has no plans to walk through it yet. She started walking around the perimeter of the forest. Passing a depression, she saw her current appearance again. There is no doubt about his face. Therefore, she was sent to participate in the game herself. Is this the reason why she didn't receive the memories and plot? After walking for almost a quarter of an hour, she found the place she wanted. There is a rock to lean on, and there are several towering trees around it. It can be used both offensively and defensively, so it is very suitable. The child followed her all the way nearby, and then found a tree to sit against. Tao Ran ignored him, sat down, crossed his legs, closed his eyes, and adjusted his breathing. Regardless of whether this body is your own or not, it is always good to quickly acquire some skills. She began to try to use the internal skills and mental methods she got from the previous world. After an unknown amount of time, she let out a heavy breath. What a good exercise! After the internal energy circulates in the body, not only the whole body is warm, but also refreshed and full of vitality. When I first entered the forest, the dampness and coldness in the body and the yin energy of the environment were all dissipated. She looked around and saw that the child was no longer under the tree. That's fine. It's more convenient to be alone. Tao Ran lowered his head and saw the number 44 on his chest again. When she took a closer look, she saw a small red dot under the number. She pressed it, and a white light flashed in front of her eyes, and the display screen she had used to do the questions appeared again. Just a few words. Name, Tao Ran. Number, 44. Time, 00 days, 2 hours and 17 minutes. Mission progress, 0/10,000. Current points, -1,198 points. Honors achieved, none. Prediction task success rate, 0.01%. Tao Ran opened his mouth. It's true, the person participating in the game is Tao Ran, herself. But, what is the mission goal? Why are there so many 10,000? Her mission success rate is close to 0? Seeing a friendly reminder logo flashing in the upper right corner, she couldn't help but click on it. A line of words came out, time is tight and the task is heavy. Please complete the task as soon as possible. It can be opened with 99 points for clearing the game. Tao Ran, there are no points for labor and management. The screen actually seemed to understand, and added, credit is available. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 268. If you have a lot of debts, you won't have to worry about it. If you have a lot of lice, you won't be itchy. Tao Ran finally clicked confirm. The so-called strategy is out. Only when the task progress is fully completed within the limited time, that is, 30 days, can it be judged successful. Both requirements of time and progress must be met. The entire game has a large space for play, a lot of randomness, no limited tasks, and no moral or legal constraints. Points will be the only consideration for task completion. Please try your best to get as many points as possible. Tao Ran, what are you talking about? No limited tasks? So, without a specific goal of what to do, so many of them are just wandering around. Random mission? How to get points? Players are asked to explore their own methods of obtaining points. It's like nothing was said. What a trap! How many players are there in total? Players are asked to explore on their own. I wish you a happy game. The white screen began to flash and was about to close. Tao Ran said anxiously. If the task is not completed within the time limit, players cannot return to the original world. Tao Ran. Is that what that woman meant when she said that? If she fails in the mission world, she will not be able to return. I was minus 1,200 points before, but now I have 2 more points. Why? Where did I get the points? Her current score is -1198. A reminder again, the game has a lot of freedom and strong randomness, players are welcome to explore on their own. The display flashes several times and then disappears. Taoran became depressed again. She took the stick and found a rock to grind it while thinking. What did she do after the game started? Grab a plank? Hit a man? Shooting a big bird? What gave her points? But it's only 2 points. Isn't this too stingy? If she wanted to accumulate 10,000 points in a month this way, she would probably have to stay awake and exhausted. So, this is definitely not the main quest. Since there is such a game, there must be a way to quickly pass the level. What is it? The designer's purpose in creating such a game should be the source of large amounts of points. Survival game? Survive. The battle between humans has never been about the environment and materials, but about human hearts. Just as Chao Rangjang felt that he had caught something, he heard a scream nearby. The shouts were "Sister! Sister, help me! Beautiful sister, help me! Beautiful sister no 44. It was a childish boy's voice. It should be nearby. It's obviously the boy from before. Taoran took a deep breath. For the sake of the words pretty sister, for the sake of, she couldn't bear it, Taoran got up and followed the sound. Speaking of which, there was some sense of fate. The boy was number 14, and he seemed like a fallen person to her. After only walking a dozen steps, I saw a boy running towards the side. And more than 20 meters behind him, it's not like enemies never get together, it's the scarred man again. And this time the scarred man was followed by 2 men. A thin man with an unshaven beard and a short man with a sinister eyebrow, they both don't look like good people at first glance. Sure enough, birds of a feather flock together, and 3 grown men chasing after a kid to grab a bag look pretty cool. Thanks to the child's cleverness, watching him move left and right, the 3 of them were unable to catch up. Sister, help me. When the child saw Taoran, he ran straight over with a silly smile on his face, showing his missing front teeth. When the scarred man saw Taoran, his eyes lit up and he also laughed. It really takes no effort at all. I was tricked by this girl just now, so I have to get some interest from this girl. He waved his hand behind him. Brothers, how about we grab this guy's bag and then let this hot girl get down on her knees and sing about conquest and have some fun. The 2 people behind him immediately responded and stepped forward with evil smiles, looking at Taoran up and down with lewd looks. The scarred man threw a bag to each of them. The 2 were overjoyed and immediately took out a dagger from it and slowly gathered around them. Oh, villain! In such a short period of time, I have already grabbed 3 bags. Taoran felt a little unsure. She only had a piece of wood that hadn't been sharpened yet. How could she outdo these 3 people? She has no martial arts skills. Although she has memorized Yutong's fighting moves, she may not have enough attack power. But the next moment, there was something in the palm of her back. The boy also slipped a dagger into her. Sister, defeat them, the child also whispered, I will support my sister. I believe in you. What are you waiting for? Let the fight begin. Taoran took a few steps forward and said, 3 eldest brothers, please tell me what you have to say. She smiled brightly at the 3 of them. The 3 of them were stunned by this smile, and her dagger had already been sent out. Although this body has no foundation, it can still perform basic movements as long as they are not too difficult. This stab was sent out horizontally, so fast and hard that the 3 people didn't react at all. The dagger was thrown at the short man. The short man was startled and subconsciously retreated. Not only was his chest pierced, but Taoran's long legs were also swung out, giving him a kick and sweeping him towards the beard. Male. The bearded man's side was blocked, and as soon as he pushed the short man away, there was already a cold feeling behind him. Ran had moved quickly behind him, and the dagger gleamed with silver light and slashed away from his back. The bearded man was frightened, screamed repeatedly, rolled and fell to the ground. But that knife didn't even come close. Ran had already turned to the scarred man. Seeing that the situation was not good, the scarred man quickly stabbed out 3 daggers in succession. Each blow was quite sharp. However, Ran's steps were really fast, and all his attempts failed. The scarred man was shocked. The woman in front of him didn't seem to have much strength, but every time she counterattacked, he almost used all his strength to block and dodge. No, before he could see the woman's move clearly, his arm had already been slashed. Fortunately, he rolled again and avoided the woman's next stab. "What are you still doing? Come on together," the scarred man yelled. The other 2 men cheered up and attacked with all their strength, wielding daggers. The scarred man crossed his arms and saw his own blood dripping all over the floor. He felt annoyed and reached into his bag, touched something, and pulled it in the palm of his hand. Seeing the 3 people fighting, he saw the opportunity, curled his lips and gave away the thing in his hand. He only needs half a second. Regardless of this woman, I, the heavenly king, must fall for him. However, the changes came so suddenly. After all, he never expected that little kid to show up suddenly. Then, they heard the scarred man scream violently. When Ran and others looked over, they saw him rolling on the spot with his eyes covered, while the little kid was kicking him hard. Of course, the kid still had a bottle of spray in his hand. "Pretty sister, I told you, you can rest assured to give me the back of your hand." And Ran also saw what the scarred man dropped on the ground. It turned out to be a syringe. How could she show mercy? She stepped on the scarred man's stomach with one step. When the other 2 men saw this, they wanted to run away. Helplessly, their backpacks were grabbed by Ran. The short man threw away the backpack without hesitation and ran away. The bearded man refused to let go of the backpack and pulled hard. As a result, the little kid appeared again at the right time and sprayed him in the face. In this way, all 3 backpacks were in Ran's hands, while the scarred man was stepped on by Ran. It is rude to come and go without reciprocating. Ran directly picked up the syringe and plunged it into the scarred man. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Shui 1111. Chapter 269. Within a few dozen seconds after the injection, the scarred man's eyes became blurred and he lost consciousness. It is self-evident what is in the syringe. Ran was depressed and couldn't help but give the man a few more compliments. If he was accidentally pierced, he would be the one lying here at the mercy of others. "Thank you, sister," the little boy grinned again, this time the smile was obviously genuine. "You're welcome. It's even without this child, she would have to run into the scarred man sooner or later." The relationship had long been formed, and confrontation was inevitable. What should I do with this man? What to do? Ran didn't know either. Do you really want her to kill someone? She couldn't do it. But if I don't do something, I feel unhappy. She took a dagger, cut a piece of vine, and tied a tight knot on the scarred man's ankle. Then she found a large leaf, wrapped a small roll of vine, and stuffed it into the mouth of the scarred man who was in hallucination. Well, it's stuffed so full that it blocks the entire mouth, making it impossible to move. She took off the man's jacket and threw it to the child, then searched through the man's belongings and found a pack of biscuits and 2 pieces of candy. Ran originally planned to hang him upside down on a tree to fend for himself. But she was not strong enough. "She can't hang up." She snorted, put the cane on her shoulders, dragged the person away and left. "Sister is mighty," the little kid raised his thumbs up. Tao Ran dragged the person dozens of steps into the dark forest and fixed the person to a tree with a cane. The man with the scar was already unconscious. Tao Ran got some more branches and leaves and covered him from head to toe. So be it. She can't kill anyone, so let's just leave this bad guy to his fate. If he is unlucky, there might be a wild beast in the forest, and he can be killed directly. Just after taking 2 steps back, Tao Ran turned back again. The man's ankle made a slight click, and it was twisted. In this way, Tao Ran felt relieved. This twist cannot be recovered in 2 or 3 days. Even if he can escape from danger, he can't let him take revenge or catch up with him easily. So be it. Tao Ran just abandoned him in the woods. The little kid was still waiting for her with a grin on his face. Sister, these 3 bags were taken from the hands of the 3 bad guys just now. I took them all. The child showed his kindness and wanted to get closer to Tao Ran. Tao Ran smiled at the child. As she dragged the man away, she kept a secret eye on the child. The little kid was okay. Not only did he not run away with the bag on the ground, he also gathered the 3 daggers and bags scattered on the ground and waited for her. Let's get out of here first and talk somewhere else, Tao Ran said. I was with Scar Man just now, I don't know if there are any other accomplices. The child was smiling again. Thank you, sister, that's great. He feels much more at ease when his sister can take him. He knew that this sister was good looking and must be reliable. Tao Ran smiled, picked up 2 bags, and left the lightest bag for the child to hold. The 2 of them quickly left this land of right and wrong. Sister, drink water. The child took an unopened bottle of water from his bag and gave it to Tao Ran. Thank you. Tao Ran took it. Sister, your kung fu is so good. It's just a show of skill and skill. I haven't met a master yet, Tao Ran said to himself. Whenever he had time these days, he would just hurry up and practice kung fu. By the way, how did you get targeted by them? My sister meditates for a long time. I can't waste time, so I just want to see if there are any water sources, wild fruits, or small animals nearby. If I find them, I can give some to my sister to get closer, the child said again. It's a smile. Unexpectedly, I was unlucky. I ran into those bad guys less than 100 meters away. They immediately focused on my bag and then chased me. The one you sprayed was pepper spray. Yes. I only have 1 bottle of spray, but there are 3 of them. I'm not sure I can use the spray to deal with 3 people, and this thing can only be used by surprise, so I didn't take it out. The spray is also redeemable. Yes, it's on the fence of the mall. Didn't sister see it? Did not see it? You don't even have the right to see it. She is worse than a child. Just a kid can get a backpack, a dagger, and a spray. The difference is not a small difference. Her level is only on the same level as that scarred man. So sad. Tao Ran didn't want to continue this topic. Why choose me? This was something Tao Ran didn't understand. There were so many people on the sea at that time. There were many people who were more powerful and stronger than me. Because my sister is domineering. The boy said without hesitation. My sister didn't buy anything from the mall, but she conquered the world with her bare hands. This shows my sister's confidence. You are so powerful. You can beat the big guy number 73 with just 2 feet, you are so awesome. Number 73 is the scarred man. Number 73 is so fierce that I can't match my sister. It shows that my sister is very powerful. Of course, I chose my sister mainly because you are beautiful. A beautiful person probably has a good heart, right? Tao Ran took another look at the child. He is a smart and discerning man. May I have your name? My name is Xiao Tian. Where is my sister? Call me Sister Xiao Tao. You are a child, why are you here? It's too dangerous. Money. My mother is sick. Need money. Having no choice but to sell yourself to save your mother is a sad topic. But this survival game can still make money. Who organized this? Yes. I guess everyone who comes here has their own purpose, right? Anyway, I do it because of the money. And because I am a child, I can add a lot of fun to the game, so I can make a lot of money. I come in, my mother has been saved. When I get out, I will have a healthy mother. The boy's head bowed. The premise is that I can get out alive. Yes, Taoran touched his head. We all will. As long as she has a chance to go out, she will try her best to help him. After walking for 15 minutes, they found a remote place again, and the two began to count the contents of the 3 backpacks they had just collected. There are codes on the backpack, starting with number 98. Taoran knew that this bag was snatched from that girl by the scumbag man. In the bag, there is a bag of dry food and water, as well as a medicine box. Very practical. No wonder the scarred man burst into laughter when he saw the contents of the bag at sea. There is food, drink, and treatment for his injuries. Open the medicine box. There are first aid medicines and needles and other equipment inside. Taoran found the medicine injected by Scarman. This medicine is labeled for self-defense and against ferocious beasts. There were originally 3 doses, but now 1 dose has been used and 2 tubes are left. I've seen this medicine in the mall, the child said. It's quite expensive, more expensive than my spray. Taoran clicked his tongue. That girl actually has so many points? She felt like she was hurt again. I owe 1,002, am I a retard? There is something going on at home these days, so the update time will be later than before. I hope you can forgive me, I'm sorry. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 270. All 3 bags were opened. Each bag contains food and water, but other configurations are different. Taoran also found out from Xiaotian that these things were actually chosen by everyone. There is everything in the mall, and you can redeem it with points. The higher the score, the more options there are to choose from. In order to survive, everyone changed food and water, as well as multifunctional backpacks with daggers. The rest of the choices are up to each individual. Xiaotian felt that he was too weak, so he exchanged most of the remaining points for self-defense equipment, such as daggers and sprays. But he still felt insecure, so he started looking for a backer from the first moment he entered the game, and ended up choosing Taoran. As for the girl number 98 whose bag was robbed by the scarred man, she obviously had no intention of attacking, so in addition to food and drink, she also had various medicines and 3 clothes in her bag. One of them is pajamas. What can be said? That girl either divided too much and had no place to use it, or she was too delicate. He was definitely not stupid. Taoran gritted his teeth. After all, he had scored so many points. After gathering everything, they now have more than 10 compressed biscuits, 3 packs of meat strips, and 7 bottles of pure water. They have all the supplies within a few days. The best luck is that there is a tent in the backpack, so at least there is no need to sleep in the wilderness tonight. Taoran used a dagger to remove the parts with numbers on the 3 bags. These number plates are too ostentatious and can easily cause trouble. The 2 buried 2 more bags and divided the remaining items into 2 parts, 1 bag for each person. Did you get points? Taoran asked. Xiaotian, not much. Only 350 points in total. Do not want to talk. What about you, sister? Do you have at least 1,000 points? Almost, it's just negative. Do you know those questions? No, I made 2 mistakes. But I know my own level, so I only did what was within my ability. Taoran, I always feel like this kid is making insinuations. Child, when I got started, I first chose elementary school questions, and then found that it was too easy after all. I thought that my years of mathematical Olympiad and various cram schools were not in vain, so I chose junior high school questions later. I answered 3 questions, but one wrong question was deducted 100 points. As a result, I only earned 100 points for the junior high school questions. I felt that the risk was too great, so I took all the remaining 6 opportunities to do the elementary school questions. There were 6 questions left, and I got one wrong, so I got 120 points. Adding the original 100 basic points, the final total score is 350 points. Tao ran. So, why did he choose the extremely difficult one when he clearly couldn't answer it? Is there any debt in the world that doesn't need to be repaid? 350 points. I used up 220 points, and now I only have 130 points left. My current mission completion rate is 130/10,000. How about you, sister? Tao Ran felt depressed. What's her use? Since the number of points is calculated into the task completion, then the task progress must be 0 until her debt is paid off. Tell me more about exchanging points in your mall. Continue to change the topic. Sister, you can watch it yourself. But sister likes to listen to you. Tao Ran gave the child a candy with a fake smile. The more she talked, the more she couldn't explain the fact that she had negative points and couldn't open them all. The child, Balabala, simply pressed the button on her chest and began to tell Tao Ran about the items in the mall and the exchange points. Biscuits and water are 50 points, dried meat 10 points, rope 20 points, lighter 30 points, flashlight 30 points, backpack 30 points, jacket suit 50 points, tent 50 points, hiking shoes 100 points, 300 points for the machete, 300 points for the bow and arrow. As he read further, Xiao Tian couldn't help but click his tongue. The medical kit is worth 500 points, the full set of adventure equipment is worth 1000 points, and the map is worth 2000 points. The more Tao Ran listened, the more depressed he became. So, how many points did the fully equipped man with glasses that they saw when they landed ashore get? Doesn't that person have a low degree of education? And the girl who foolishly got on someone else's board even though she had a life jacket after being robbed, is also a boss. If you can replace a 500-point medical kit, then her basic score is at least 1000. Xiaoshan's tone suddenly contained surprise. Sister, my task completion rate has increased. I am now 280/10,000. Tao Ran's closed eyes suddenly opened. Did you just trigger the mission? Didn't you just take care of 3 bastards? Sure enough, killing can increase points. Who is the king who survives to the end? She quickly pressed her button. The points are displayed. 1169. It has indeed gone up. From -1198 to -1169, an increase of 29 points. But the little kid has increased by 150. She is only 1/5 the size of a little kid. Why? Tao Ran was puzzled. Did the little brat do something that she didn't do? If you can get points for hitting people, why did she only get 2 points at sea? She is even more depressed. The 2 of them had half a biscuit and 2 meat strips each, which was considered lunch. After eating and drinking, Tao Ran chose a towering tree with no top visible and tried to climb it. After they landed, they only moved around in this area. They had to know the situation deep in the jungle or at the other end of the jungle. After trying several times, and finally using Yutong's Qinggong moves, Tao Ran finally climbed 5 meters high in one breath. Climb up the bare section of the tree trunk and it will be much easier after that. She stepped on the branches and slowly climbed up. After climbing for another 3 minutes, she reached the canopy. Looking around, it was not just their side that was surrounded by dense forests. It seemed that the entire outer circle of the island was surrounded by dense forests, and through the dense forest, there is a mountain. Maybe it was because of the terrain. Looking at the mountain, she just felt safer on the mountain? Unfortunately, none of the 4 bags contained telescopes, so the conditions on the mountain were not clear. "Sister, save me at this time," Xiaoshan's voice came with panic. Tao Ran quickly hugged the tree tightly and slid down, not only for Xiaotian, but also for the supplies in those bags. After sliding down for several meters, she saw that Xiaotian was blocked by someone. Poor child, he tightly protected the 2 bags under his body, and beside him, there were 4 hands of a man and a woman, grabbing the strap of the backpack under him and dragging it out. "Rob. That's nice." Tao Ran fell from the sky and hit the man with a flying kick. Instead, the woman let out a hysterical scream, which made Tao Ran almost think he kicked her by mistake. The woman immediately stopped pulling on the strap and hugged the man. "Where is it hurt? Does it hurt?" Tao Ran pulled Xiaotian up, and when he took a look, he realized that the child's arms were all worn out. "Why don't you use spray? I have 2 bags to protect, and I don't have the time or hands to hold them." Tao Ran protected Xiaotian behind him, then he crossed his arms and looked at the couple. Oh, wasn't this the girl who had her bag snatched by the scarred man that she was still thinking about just now, and the handsome man who saved her from getting on the plank? Look at these 2 people, they really fell in love at first sight. Do you think they are in love with each other? Tao Ran became interested and raised his eyebrows.